I was going to say, isn't Karina answered prayer? And then my next thought was, but now I have to go. But she is answered prayer. And I trust that you being here in this room or watching from home, that you feel like that is answered prayer. And especially today, I hope you realize that you are somebody else's answered prayers. Because as we go into an awareness of the power of prayer that is alive in every moment of our existence, it really invites us not only to live into the prayer, but become the living activity of the prayer. And I want to really share with you about everything that I have found within the power of prayer, within the faith that I have for prayer in my life. You've heard me speak it many a times for those of you who have been around. I am the expression of answered prayer. You know, my life is an answered prayer, and I'm really aware of that, and it's what inspires me to support all of us in continuing to be open and receptive to that power that is already present as prayer in our lives. Now, segue. As many of you know what I'm about to do next, and there's no easy segue into it, so I'm just going to tell you, it actually was really good. People at the 9:30 service actually enjoyed it. So if you actually came to services praying for a good joke, you're about to get it. See, we're just showing you how your prayers are being manifested here, right? So there's this little boy named Johnny who wanted a little baby brother or baby sister and was telling his father that. And the father said, well, you know, just hold it in prayer, Johnny. Just hold it in prayer and let's see what happens. So Johnny actually took that on and decided to hold in prayer to have a baby brother or baby sister, and did this for about 2 months, really going into prayer, right? But then nothing was happening, so he started doubting it a little bit, and then he realized, wait a minute, all the other kids in the neighborhood, they weren't praying for a sibling, and look, they got a little baby brother, they got a little baby sister over there, and he just decided to put it to the side and not do it any longer. A few months later, maybe about 8 or 9, the father and mother rush off to the hospital, and when they come back, they asked little Johnny to come over to meet not one, but the 2 new siblings that had been born, for the mom had twins. And the dad looks over at Johnny and says, now, aren't you glad that you prayed? And Johnny looks at him and says, yes, but aren't you glad I quit when I did? All right, that was just a joke, because I don't want you, and I'm not, hear me out, I am not telling you to quit praying. I'm actually telling you the complete opposite, which is to pray without ceasing, you know, to pray when things get rough, to pray when things are flowing, pray when you are reminded by somebody about the power of prayer. Invite yourself to recognize different ways in which you can remind yourself to pray, because it is through prayer, I believe, that not only has this movement been manifested and created, but I believe that prayer is the single most important thing that we can do to create the life of our dreams, to create the experiences that we have been looking for, because it is in the power of prayer that we get to acknowledge the divine. We get to acknowledge God, and every time that we acknowledge God in our lives, don't we experience it just a little bit more? Aren't we more fully aware of what that power and presence is all about, and the way that it has a hold on our very being? And so for me, it's about praying and really allowing the healing to take place through prayer. So what is it in your life that is seeking to be healed? Is it something that is going on within you, as most things are? Is it something that is taking place in a relationship that you're in? Is it at work? Is it what takes place when you look at the news and see some of the things that are going on? I really invite you to consider what is being asked to be healed. And this morning, I'm really inviting you to use the power of prayer as the tool by which the healing takes place. Now, I know I have it easy. I have it easy because my profession is one that tells me, you better pray, right? Like, I was just having lunch with somebody who's in this room last week, and we went out to have lunch, and right when the meal was coming up, I was like, oh, hold on, we got to pray. And he's like, man, do you have to pray every single time you have a meal with somebody? And I said, yes, and it is so great. Because luckily for me, I've chosen a profession that invites me to pray at the beginning of every meeting, that invites me to pray up here on Sundays with you, when we're one-on-one with each other, when we're having meals together. And so I have those constant reminders to move into prayer. And I have to tell you that because of those constant reminders, I have continued to evolve and deepen my experience of prayer, and it has really shifted my life. And so I get it that not all of us have the same kind of prompts, right, to go into prayer. I really invite you to consider how you can create your own prompts so that it's not only when things are needing the healing, when it's not only when things have completely broken down, that we acknowledge the power that is in prayer and acknowledging the power of God in our lives. And so this is really an opportunity for us to continue to flex our spiritual muscle of prayer and allow it to move us into a greater understanding of the very presence of God that lives within us. See, as I've continued to evolve in my journey of prayer, not only has the process evolved for me, the language and the meaning of prayer has evolved in me. And wherever you're at in the journey, my invitation is for you to just ask yourself, is there an evolution asking to take place within my own journey of prayer? Is there a deeper or a more expansive way in which I can go into prayer and allow prayer to be what moves me, guides me, and inspires me in greater and greater ways? Can your prayer practice evolve today? Are you willing to ask yourself how that is to play out? And are you willing to already envision the results of it? Already envision the healed relationships, already experience the healed spiritual, emotional, physical stuff that is taking place within you, already envision humanity inspired to its divinity. And we can lean on each other, and let me tell you, when it comes to prayer, we can lean on the consciousness that has been built in unity for it. Many of you know the unity movement is founded in the power of prayer. It is where we anchor our philosophy and our way of being. Because over 130 years ago, Charles and Myrtle Fillmore realized the power of affirmation and the power of prayer and meditation, and through that, they were healed themselves. And as a result of it, all these individuals wanted to be a part of that energy, and what they did was not create a church, not create like a movement. It all started with creating prayer circles. And so they had prayer circles where they all came together just to acknowledge the presence of God and the power of praying, not only on their own, but with each other. And so that's how in 1889, Charles and Myrtle Fillmore founded what was called then the Society of Silent Help. Society of Silent Help, just being able to go within and to hold in consciousness that which we wanted to experience. And then that evolved to be called the Society of Silent Unity, which then evolved to be called Silent Unity, which now is the prayer ministry of the Unity movement. How many of you know about Silent Unity? Beautiful. For those of you who do not know, there's a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week number that you can call and have somebody answer you in that moment and pray with you for whatever it is that you're going through. The prayer requests that you turn in here at Unity on the Bay, we hold them in prayer for 30 days, and then we mail them to Silent Unity, where somebody is constantly praying in a prayer room for all of our prayer intentions. And that is the core and the power that is within this movement. And in a couple of weeks, we're going to be celebrating our 30th annual World Day of Prayer. World Day of Prayer is taking place on September 13th. We're going to be a part of it at 7 o'clock in our office space. We're going to have a prayer circle. Reverend Pam is going to lead us and guide us in that. And then at 8 o'clock, we're going to tap into the opening ceremonies that are taking place from Unity Village. And we're all going to do that together. In one room, the English-speaking individuals. In another room, the Spanish ones, because I'm a part of the Spanish celebration. And so you're all invited to either watch it and not know what I'm talking about, or watch it and understand, or at least feel it. But that is the 30th annual World Day of Prayer, where thousands and thousands of people come together to acknowledge the power that it is when we come together in our faith and in our prayer work. And this theme for the year is the heart of healing. The heart of healing. And I tell you that as I sit with that, prayer is the heart of healing. If there is any kind of healing that we want to experience in our lives, prayer is at the core of it, because prayer is what reminds us that in God all things are possible. In God we are whole. In God there's only healing taking place. But how do we tap into it, right? Well, Eric Butterworth says this: how do you ask the sun for sunlight? By getting out into the sun. How do you ask for electricity, for light, for your lamp? By turning on the switch. How do you ask God for what you want? By getting into the Spirit. It is what you must do for yourself to enable God to do for you that which God is ceaseless longing to do. Basically, prayer is how we get out of the way. It's how we get out of that mentality of the ego that says that we're not good enough for healing, that we're not good enough to experience love and peace and abundance in our lives. It's releasing that hold that ego can have on us that tells us that we aren't worthy of those things. And therefore, we feel separate from God. And the moment that we feel separate from God is the moment that we start to feel the hurt, the upsetness, the loneliness of not fully acknowledging that we are all expressions of the divine. And so wholeness is always within us, and healing is always taking place, and love and peace and abundance are our way of being. And we got to peel ourselves from all the judgments and all the false ways of thinking about ourselves in order to be able to not only live it, but to actually unleash it out into our own life. It's there, but in prayer, we activate those things and we get to live into them more fully. True prayer is communion with God, with the divinity within us. It's one of those things where it's like we make an appointment with God, but we actually show up for the appointment so that we can be one-on-one with each other and with the God of our being. Now, Reverend Linda Martel-Whitsitt says that all prayer can be brought down to one thing. We pray for one reason and one reason only. All reasons for prayer can be distilled down to one. We pray to claim and assert our divine identity so that we can live more fully from it. We pray so that we may embody divine nature. And every time that we embody it more fully, healing takes place. Every time we acknowledge that we are the extension and expressions of God, healing takes place. And healing is that expression of prayer. And the heart of prayer, to me, is our oneness with God. And so we keep going into the heart of healing, the heart of prayer, and we acknowledge that we are in the heart of God as we do so. Now, some of us may have forgotten what true prayer is about. And some of us may have forgotten the kind of prayers that we want to have in our lives. Believe me, I've forgotten. And so see if some of these are the ways in which sometimes when we forget, we sort of lean into maybe past history or past ways of being. How many of you are really good at prayers of despair? Take this from me. Anybody? Yeah. What about prayers of repair? Heal me. Something outside of me, heal me. Or better yet, heal them. Change them. Repair them so that I can be happy and whole and satisfied. Who's been there? Who's been there this morning or yesterday or very recently, right? Listen, It's part of the evolution that I'm inviting us into and inviting myself into. And then we have the ability to go into prayers of awareness, a prayer to be aware of the presence of God, to be aware of the divine nature that is our truth and reality, and to be aware about what's really going on, because we can be focused on all the things that are going wrong, but the reality is that in every little thing, there is something going right. In every little thing, there is God showing up. In every little thing, there is an opportunity to recognize that we are being taken care of, we are being lifted up, and we are allowing ourselves to live into the heaven on earth that we claim we want for ourselves. And I was sitting with this, like, nothing is more powerful than the power and presence of God, right? I'm questioning that a little bit. Because yes, there is that power is so powerful, the power and the presence of God. But I think it becomes more powerful when we actually become aware of it, where we acknowledge it, we tap into it, and then we do something with that power and that prayer that lives in and as us. Charles Fillmore said that prayer was the highest form of thought because it was our thoughts that were being focused on our truth, our divine nature, and our oneness with God. Myrtle Fillmore said this about prayer. Prayer is the most effective method of renewal and transformation because in prayer, man associates with God and not with the problem. We aren't making things right. We are seeing them right. We are seeking to experience God in every relationship, in every activity, in every part of our life experience. And the moment that we open our hearts and open our minds to experiencing that, doesn't that shift the experience? Doesn't that shift the way that we show up and the way that we invite others to show up with us? Now, for a World Day of Prayer, the guiding prayer, there's a guiding prayer, and in it, I'm just going to read part of it, but I invite you to close your eyes. This is what is guiding the 30th World Day of Prayer for the Unity Movement. And it says, I open my heart that recognizes the healing power of God, the source of wholeness and well-being. I turn within to inexhaustible and ever-flowing divine life. Struggles and challenges come and go, but no human condition can hinder the flow of divine life. I heal as I shift my awareness to my spiritual nature and find that God and I, divine life and I, are one. I have ready access to the fullness of life at all times. Healing is happening in every moment of spiritual awareness. Knowing that wholeness and well-being are innate, I celebrate my capacity to thrive in every circumstance. With a grateful heart, I heal. So it is. Can you feel the shift? Can you fully allow the healing that has been taking place to take hold of you even more fully? See, healing is always taking place. Our wholeness simply is, and anytime that we feel disconnected from it, we have this wonderful tool to remind us that we can think we're disconnected from it, but we will never be disconnected from it because we are never disconnected from God, and we are never disconnected from the source of the answers to any prayer intention or request that we may have. And the beauty is that although we may sometimes think that it changes things, what it does is it changes us. It changes the way that we see things, the way that we perceive things. And from that place, then we can change circumstances. Hypatia Hasbrook from the Handbook of Positive Prayer says, if we persistently think in a particular kind of thought, other thoughts of the same kind will form in our minds, and eventually we will feel compelled to say the words or do the acts that express the thought outwardly, so that corresponding conditions or things will be formed in us and in our environment. And so prayer is the key to making those shifts. And affirmative prayer, which is the prayer that we use in Unity, makes it powerful because it's not that it shifts what's happening outside of us, it shifts the place where we are praying from. And when we shift from praying from a place of despair or repair, we are more consciously flowing with the source of our good. Ellen Davenport says, prayer is not to solicit God, but to solidify us. It is to refresh and realign our minds and hearts with the divine. It is to affirm the absolute good of the universe. It is to move from ego to soul, to contact the Christ of our being and begin to live again from our best selves. We do not beg God for favors, but call forth that which is already ours, the abundance of the universe built on love, seated with intelligence, and responsive on every thought. Prayer brings about miracles because we are the miraculous expression of the infinite. If you are seeking to experience miracles, prayer reminds us that we are the miracles in the making. We are the miracles in expression, and within us is everything we need to experience our life as a miracle. Now, really quick, I want to invite you, if you haven't used affirmative prayer, it's simple. There's the 11-step process. That's not very simple. The 9-step process, the 7-step process, the 5-step process. We have a lot of steps and processes at Unity, and you're lucky, you're blessed, you have answered prayer, and that I'm giving you the 3-step process. And the 3-step process is simple. First, to invoke the awareness of truth. In every moment, take a step back, whatever may be going on in your life, and just remind yourself that there is truth taking place, and there is truth even beyond what you are experiencing or seeing. And so invoke that awareness of truth. Divine love is here. Abundance is mine. God is expressing as love, peace, joy in every aspect of my life. And then you affirm from that place, because all of a sudden you are aware of the power that is within you, because it is the power of God itself. And you're able to, from that place, affirm that which you want to experience. And so there is healing taking place in all my relationships. There is abundance and prosperity. Unexpected income is coming to me easy and with grace, whatever it is. And because you are recognizing that the power is already there within you, and you are trusting then that using that power to affirm that which we want to live, that it will take place, you move into gratitude. Thank you, God. Thank you, love. Thank you, joy. Thank you, life. Thank you, because it is so. Now, one of the last things I want to invite you into is to recognize that it's all a process, right? It's all an evolution. And we talk about Myrtle's healing, and some people may think that it was instantaneous. It took her 2 years to heal from tuberculosis, right? She held on to her faith, and she held on to the power of prayer that was alive in her. And so if you are praying, if you are affirming, if you're acknowledging things in your life that may still be waiting to be fully manifest, I just really invite you to hold on to faith and trust that that power is alive in you, and that you can embody it more fully to live more fully into that which you are praying for. There's a story of an elephant and a dog that became pregnant at the same time. 3 months down the line, the dog gave birth to a couple of puppies. 6 months later, the dog was pregnant again. And 9 months after that, it gave birth to another dozen puppies. And the pattern continued, so on and so forth. On the 18th month, the dog approached the elephant, who had not given birth yet, and said, "Are you sure that you are pregnant? We became pregnant on the same date. I have given birth 3 times to a dozen puppies, and they are now grown to become big dogs, yet you are still pregnant. What's going on?" And the elephant replied, "There's something that I want you to understand. What I'm carrying is not a puppy, but an elephant. When my baby hits the ground, the earth feels it. When my baby crosses the road, human beings stop and watch in admiration. What I carry draws attention. What I'm carrying is mighty and great." If you have not experienced that which you have prayed into and about and for, don't despair. Remember that our time is coming, our time is at hand, and when we embody this faith more fully, the earth feels it. People shall yield in admiration. What you carry is mighty and great. It is the power and the presence of God. And through prayer, not only can we acknowledge it, but we can live it, honor and celebrate it. And that's how we put a little bit more healing in all that we do. Namaste. Thank you so much for visiting our YouTube channel. We post new videos every week to keep you positive, present, and inspired to your divinity. Please click on the subscribe button below and also that notification bell. Remember to share this with your friends and your family, those that you know will be inspired just like you have been. And always remember that we love you, that we bless you, that we behold the Christ in you, and we see you doing great things. Thanks and take care.